Chapter 2, Success in Your DNA. Am a walking contradiction? No, one believes in herself more than I do. Yet, I am well aware of how unimportant I really am. I couldn't care less what people think about me, but I do respect and pay attention to what they say. When viewers posted comment on a recent episode of the Donation, one of the biggest video blog on the internet, saying that I am the obsceniac in the form of the show. I stayed up until 4 a.m. apologizing to every one of them. I love building business and launching new ventures. But the only reason I value money is that I am going to need a lot of it when I buy the New York Jets. Wow, I am not kidding. I really do want to own the Jets. This has been ovation mine since third grade. And although the story of how I became what ABC News called the social media sommelier, State referred to the wine guru for the YouTube era. The nightline named the Young World Wine Affordino is in the some base that most common immigrant make good story ever told. It's also ahead of not only because the technology that made it possible didn't exist until a few years ago, but because no one else has my DNA. For a business guy, I talk a lot about DNA, and this book will be no exception. That's because I firmly believe that the path to your successful business literally lies in the twist of turn of your own double helix. In fact, I should probably just credit the time and the wine library, and that's because I firmly believe that the path to your success business literally lies in the twist double helix. In fact, I should probably just credit the success of Wine Liberty TV, the online wine tasting video blog that put me on the social marketing map, to my mom and dad who gave me the DNA and enabled me to take career of a thunderous labor. Then again, lots of ambiguous people have been born with great DNA and yet eventually found themselves at the professional standstill, frustrated, miserable, stuck. Why? Because they weren't doing what they love more than anything else in the world. They weren't doing what they were born to do. You gotta be you. I got lucky. From a very early age, I knew the acceptance and distract of my DNA, which were that I was born to be the people person and to build business. Those were and have always been my passions. I knew I was made to be an entrepreneur, and not once did I try to anything else, and evidence by the J and F. Instead, report cards I went home and gave my mother confession. Even though I hated to make my mother cry, I also knew that I had to be me, and if that meant hiding a backhand baseball guide inside my math book during class so I could read up my next baseball card trading show, that's the way it had to. Too many people ignore their DNA. However, to conform to what their families or society expected of them, a lot of people also decide to the professional success has to look a certain way. That's how someone wants to design bikes, wins, and become a lawyer, or someone who loves experimenting and make up words every day pitching someone else overpriced brand to malls around the country, or someone who cannot go a day without jotting down some ideas and their next poem spent most of the their time and a helm of emergency IT department. To me, that's insane. I have been dying to this book not because I think I can help everyone who wants to become a millionaire, although I am pretty sure I can, but because it drives me crazy to know that there is still people out there who haven't figured out that they don't have to settle. There is no excuse for anyone living in the United States for everyone else right now to slog through his and her entire life, working at jobs they hate or even jobs they simply don't love, in the name of the paycheck or the sense of responsibility. The internet makes it possible for anyone to be 100% true to themselves and make serious cash to turning what they love most into their personal brand. There no longer has to be difference between who you are and what you do. Now, as cluddy and cozy as they follows your bliss message might seem, makes no mistake, if you do things the way I tell you to do them, you are going to work harder and you are ever working on your life. But I am the opinion that hardship shapes us. Coming from nothing served my family well. I also gave me the hunger to do want at all and the wisdom to know that none of it matters. I am convinced and in fact that if things has been a little easier for my family in the early days, I never would have gotten to where I am now. To tell that story, we have to go back in the old country. Coming to America, my family moved here from Belarus in the former Soviet Union in 1978. My father, Sansa, was inspired to come to the state by the great uncle who has immigrated years before. He came back to the Belarus and visit his sister, and that's how my father learned that America was a place where you could build a life for yourself according to your own rules, and you didn't have to wait 6 hours in line to buy a loaf of bread. Either a natural entrepreneur, my father knew that the America was where the family future lay. As Jews, we were given a special permission to seek political asylum award, and after a month of working through the red tape and the cooling of our heels in Austria and Italy, we finally landed in Queens, New York. Unfortunately, my great uncle died unexpectedly, right before our journey began. Yet his children were kind to us. Mom, Dad, 3 years old me, then named Grandy, my grandmother and my grandparents, until we could move in the studio apartment arranged by the Jewish Foundation. We are reverted certain that the stress were paid and the proverbial gold. Grandma got mugged within 6 weeks. The economy was tanking. The construction job my dad has arranged before arriving to this country abrupt within a few months. Again, my great uncle's family helped out the offering my dad a job as a truck boy in one of their liquor stores in Cart, New Jersey. Times were tough. I still get emotional when I think about the time my parents walked a few miles from the Kmart to buy me not one, but 2 Star Wars action figure for my 6th birthday. For families on the tight budget like us, my sister Elizabeth was warned by them. That was a big deal. I don't remember anyone complaining much about money. thought or about anything else for that matter. We had our health and we had one another. What more we did and what more we need. We assimilated quickly. My parents changed my name to Gary when we arrived, but inside the home it was still valorous. No way was mother plopping meat loaf down for dinner like those American moms. In our house, we ate suffered cabbage and smoked herrings. We never took medicine, only tea, and if you were really sick, you rubbed vodka on your chest. I never wanted to tell anyone I had gotten a cut or burn on my head because they would immediately suggest I pee on it. My dad was smart and he knew how to hustle, so it didn't take long for him to work his way up and become manager, then co-owner of the small liquor store in Clark. By 1983, he had bought a store in the size of an office with the partner Springfield, and later he built the same store up to the 4,000 square feet on the same property. It's 40,000 square feet and far cry from the original store, which was called Soper's Discount Liquor and looked exactly what you would think as a Soper's Discount Liquor should look like. My parents were hungry for providing for their family and hungry to win. My dad worked his ass off so much that I really didn't get to know him until I was 14 years old. Yet, I have tremendous respect for what he did for us thanks to his hard work and the chutzpah. We become to epitome of the American success story in 1978. We were broke and couldn't speak English. In 1985, I was the first kid on my block to have Nintendo. You can see why my dad is my hero. My gratitude for what he did drive my own ambitions to take my business to the higher level. Rise of the entrepreneur. On the surface, my dad and I have very different thought. I have a lot of his fire and hustle. I am a lot of my mom. Super emotional and a true people person. Open to everyone from the day one, but very strong on the inside. Dad is tougher guy to get close to. He is slower to let you in, but once he does, you are family. I respect him to no end, but I wish more people could get to know him. The other big difference between us is that he allows his emotions to lead his decision. I am all about passion, but letting your emotion trigger fingers calls a big no in my book. Observing me from an early age, however, no one could deny that's my dad entrepreneurial DNA ran strong through me. The only thing I loved more than the running a business and making money was the New York Jets. My neighbor always said that no season was safe. In summer, I would wash her car. In the fall, I would rake her leaves and I would shovel her snow. Through the winter, there was one spring when I cut the flower in her yard, then ranged her doorbell and sold a bucket back to her. I am still kind of proud to the initiative. The profit margin was amazing. By the time I was 8 years old, I had 7 lemonade stand and was ranking to the crazy amount of cash from someone who was still too scared to ride a bike. My fear was probabilistic considering that my franchisee was located all around the neighborhood. Everyone could hear me coming from mile away as I roared around my big wheel to pick up my money. My real business education began when I caught baseball fever. My mom has taken me to the flea market where I brought some pack of baseball cards as well as copy of Beckett baseball cards price guide. It related that there was actual value to the cards I had brought. I can still remember the feeling I realized that my world was changed. I was the same feeling that I would get later when I saw the market potential for wine, when I saw the internet for the first time, and when I watched the first video blog. Game over. Goodbye lemonade stand. Hello baseball cards. Hunterdon Country, New Jersey. When I was 8th grade, baseball card was on the like Chunky Kong at my new school. Within weeks, I was ranking in the top. One day, the local mall personnel announced that were hosting the baseball card show, and no way I going to miss it. I already $100 player thanks to selling cards to my 8th grade classmates, so I mustered up my courage and asked my dad for the biggest number I could think of, $1,000. Unbelievably, thought in hindsight that just who my dad is. He gave it to me. The money was burning a hole in my pocket, so I immediately went to Costco and spent it on the several boxes of the cards. I knew they weren't a good year, but I was impatient. The last time I would ever be that. Sure enough, when I opened them and looked up their values in the price guide, I found out they were worth only about the $200. Oh man, I was in trouble. My mom drove my two parents, Jason Riker and the Joan Carker, and me to the mall so we could buy a table at the show. We had agreed ahead of time that we wouldn't buy a table it cost more than the $20. We asked for the promoter, and this 400-pound Italian dude comes out. Hey mister, I said, how much for the show? $150. $150. 100 over the money. Shook the guy's head and walked away, ignoring my friend's gaping mouth. My brain was telling me this was a terrible idea, but my gut said, go for it, and I have always listened to my gut. By the time I got home and told my dad and mom what I had done, I was almost in tears, but true to form, they don't trouble me. Even thought I am sure they wanted to. Instead, my dad said he hoped that losing the money would be worth the experience. He is a wise man, my dad. I went to my room determined to show him that I wasn't in just for the experience. The fire was burning and there is no way I was going to lose. The next day, we set up and traveled, and first thing I did was market research. I walked around the show checking out what everyone else was selling. I then adjusted repricing every car we had and available for less than everyone else was selling it. We crushed it and made a straight cash from them on. I did every show I could. My mom and fellow car dealer, the best friend Vandran, Rank's mom would drive us in the snow or rain to the Ringwater Hillsburger, Edison, Ratinen, anywhere. There was a snow, there was a show, and every time I would dominate. And I had just learned one of my first lessons in business. Secrecy breeds desire. My strategy was simple. I would buy seats that weren't mentioned in the bucket and promote them to create a market. You are thinking, geez, Gary, what a scam artist you were. Not at all. I was an optimist. A pessimist wouldn't have seen a card were unlisted and assumed that they were worthless. I, on the other hand, quite innocently decided that if these cards weren't in guide, they had to be valuable. I paid my dad back his $1,000 in about 3 or 4 months. I continued to earn what kind of money every weekend I could. Then I turned 15 and got dragged out of the mall and into the liquor shop. Learning the trade to go from the self-made baseball card king of the Hunterdon country rolling in the drove to the grunt begging eyes for the $2 an hour was a hard fall. It wasn't until I turned 16 that I was even allowed up to the floor and become a cashier. Not too exciting, but it beats her and the swirling eyes and the stink shapes. I couldn't drink anything we sold. My parents were strict about that, but I was good regretting data. So when business was slow, I would flip through trade magazine to pass time and then use what I would learn to help customers. One of those magazines was Wine Spectator. Now, the store was called the Shoppers Discount Liquor for a reason. Most of our business come from the selling the hard stuff. Beer too was the biggest seller. The big cooler took up about 33% of the entire store, but I learned two things from my time behind the cash register. First, thanks to the Wine Spectator, I learned that there was a whole culture attached to the drinking wine that the people collected in the same way I collected the baseball cards, Star Wars toys, and the comic books. That was interesting to me. I also started noticing a pattern. People would come to buy their Absolute, their Johnny Walker, and I knew that or any stuff could talk until we were blue in the face about the other brands. They were still walking out in their Absolute, in their Johnny Walker. Those brands were just to establish the wine buyer through would often walk in the looking in the little lost and spend 10 millions tremendously peering at the lever at the thought, hoping a water would jump out and spare time from making a decision. I knew from my experiments with the baseball cards business that people went to be told that's good and the vulnerable, and that they enjoy feeling like they have been turned to the something not everyone can appreciate. Storytelling is by far the most underrated skill in the business. The wine buyer, like the liquor customer, were open to any suggestion I had, and I realized that there is presented opportunity. Spotting the social trend was enough to turn what started out a casual interest in wine into the ovation. I had started out at the Shoppers Discount Liquor, hating every second of my time there, but now I was determined to turn the place into the number one wine shop in America, changing the wine world. No one had any illusion that I was a great scholar as I started my senior year of high school, so it made sense to me that my plans should be to eke out the grade and the graduate the star working full time at the liquor store. Sometime in February, yes, February. Sorry, mom, you know it's true. My mother asked me what college I was planning to attend. College, as luck would have it, podcast from the Mount Adela College in Newton. Masquerades showed up in a mail few years later. I filled it out and Mount Adela became my home in the fall. By then, through my life was a store and I would come home almost every weekend to work there. In September 1995, I was hanging out in a friend's dorm room when he turned on his computer and introduced me to the thing that called the internet. I let my friend bumble around chat's room trying to meet girls for a little while, then kick them off and spend the next 9 hours hunting down the baseball cards, trading forms, and figuring out what I was going to use these things to grow a store. There was no doubt in my mind this was going to be the future of business. It would take me another year to get the courage of approach my dad about the selling wine online. What can I say? My dad was a scary guy at first, racist, but he believed in me, and soon he relented. I was off to the races. WineLibrary.com launches in June 1997. The store itself wouldn't take on the name Wine Library until 1999. The store brought in about 2 or 3 million per year in 1994. I came on board full time after graduating in 1998 and grew the business from about 4 million to 10 million in a year, with 0% of that in the online sale. By 2001, we were doing about 20 million. Not bad at all. Life was good and business was booming. Most guys my age wouldn't have thought they have to made it. Then my 13th birthday, 30th birthday, November 14, 2005, I was driving along the New Jersey Trapping on the way of the world think about my day, and I realized that the perfect as like seemed. I wasn't entirely happy. I knew deep in my soul that there is no way I was ever going to buy the jets if I stayed on the retail path. It was time to go big. We had a computer department at my library by now, and I had seen Eric Castan and John Cassidy's spending their lunch breaks splitting food all over themselves from the laughing at these things called a bigo video blogs. The two big ones at the time Rock's bedroom been trying to figure out how to leverage this new medium to show people there was a more to drink out. There was a yellow tail. I would also notice that sites like MySpace and Flickr, YouTube were becoming popular sites and had nothing to do with the commerce and everything to do with being social and sharing stories and meeting people, and that was something I was good at. It was there on the New Jersey Turnpike that I had my aha moment. I wasn't going to use video blogs to sell wine. I was going to use video blogs to build a whole new world for wine. For myself, I waited to get the store through the holiday season and then launches Wine Library TV in February 2006, 3 months later. This is the end of second chapter, and we will soon see you in the third chapter. Hope you listen well, and please subscribe to this channel. It takes time, and it takes courage, it takes hustle. Thanks a lot. See you next.